Welcome to this free character design beginners course. During this 3-hour tutorial, you will be learning all the essentials of digital art. If you would like to learn everything about this skill and start drawing like a pro, head to skillademia.com and get access to the full course. Now, let's begin.
Hey everybody, what's up? My name is Quincy. I'll be teaching you guys character design for now. Yeah, welcome to this course. Basically, what I'm going to be breaking down are some fundamentals of character design, how you can be a better character design artist, and how you can apply it to the industry. I'm also going to teach you some fundamentals about anatomy and just base shading and drawing and values, hues and saturation, all that stuff, how you can better make your characters designed, better style and better ways of improving your own style. I'll be going through it throughout this course while also doing drawings like this and this one, so you guys can see how I do it step for step, and hopefully you can learn something from all of these things I do. So I look forward to it. I'll be going over just these fundamentals, and hopefully by the end of this series you are a character designer and you are able to apply this to whatever you really feel like, be it D&D or professional use. I'll be going through all of it from start to finish, and hopefully you can set your sights on a good career. Here's the course. Hi, glad to see you picked this course. Right now, I'm actually just busy with this one project, and this is actually the level I'd like you to get to by the time you're done with this course. So we'll be doing a bunch of exercises throughout this course, and this is just the first chapter where we're going to be covering a few things. So let's get right to it. So the first thing you need to know, start with the complete basics. What is character design? In visual arts is simply called character design. In visual arts, character design is the full creation of a character. It's a character's aesthetic, personality, behavior, and overall visual experience, or visual appearance. Character designers is what you want to become if you're watching this course or are interested in. Create characters as a vehicle for storytelling. This means that every aspect of a character, such as shape, color palette, and details, are chosen for a specific reason. The details of a character's personality often inform character designers on the visual attributes of a character. Principles such as color theory, shape language, and even general psychology all help an artist create an effective character design. And so, throughout this lesson, we'll be going over and learning how exactly to apply this, how to use Photoshop and tools such as Clip Studio Paint in order to get a better grasp on having a finished product like this, and just all around have a fun time learning and also practicing the fundamentals. So, key components of good character design is actually the silhouette. So, a good example, it's actually the silhouette. So, a good example of a good character silhouette is one that everybody knows. And it's actually really funny when you actually see it, but I'm sure you can guess who it is anyway. I can pull up the image right now. Who's this? You can instantly tell just by the character design. And this is one of the first characters ever created, Mickey Mouse. Before him was Roger Rabbit, I assume. No, not Roger Rabbit. What was his name again? Hold on. I can look it up right now. His name was Oswald the Lucky Rabbit. Although he may lay forgotten, he stays in the hearts of all animators all over the world because, well, he defined the media. Next to that, Mickey Mouse came as let's say, a walking legacy for Roger. I'll keep calling him. You know what? I'll call him Roger Rabbit. That's the wrong name, but you'll know who I mean. So Mickey Mouse actually has a core character design, something that's easily recognizable. And, well, another good character design would be Sonic the Hedgehog, for example. You would instantly notice Sonic the Hedgehog based on, well, his silhouette. You can see just instantly that, okay, hey, this is Sonic the Hedgehog. If I just type in Sonic the Hedgehog silhouette, you'll instantly recognize him. He's iconic. And so this actually defines what a good character design is. And so this is something, a base fundamental that you need to learn instantly. So some notable famous character designs are, yeah, Mickey Mouse, Sonic, but also some you might not even realize, like Ryu from Street Fighter. Although humanoid, you can tell that the artist actually added some features to make him look, well, noticeable. He has the iconic headband, the iconic spiky hair, the posture as well, and just the reason his clothes are like that is for you to recognize him. If you look at other characters in Street Fighter, you're gonna recognize them as well, like Chun-Li, just based on the shape alone. They could have easily just drawn an Asian woman, but they gave her these pompous shoulder pads, arm chains, and iconic boots. You would instantly recognize her just based on the simple silhouette of her appearance. Now, this is something you actually have to learn to grasp. It's really important to know that this is really important you to understand. And a good exercise you can actually do with shapes or silhouettes is just draw the silhouette of a character. You don't have to exactly do anything. Before you even imagine the character, just draw a silhouette. Now, what do I have here? I'm not too sure. But I haven't seen anything like it before. But it has to be recognizable. So, let's just work with shapes actually. Might be even better. So, I have two circles here. Now, you can instantly see, okay, this is a silhouette of something. But what exactly? Well, I could just add two eyes right here. And it's already a character. Now, for the rest, it's just having fun and kind of imagining what you're going to do. So I'm trying to give him like a bit of a definition between the head and the neck here. So you see what I mean? We already have a character right here. Let's give him a smile. And as you can see, we already made a character just like that. It's really simple. And when you have a character design, actually, if you want to make more complicated characters, it's good to practice silhouettes. It's good to practice just all these things. So you see what I mean? This character alone, although not famous, is something I just made up. But it already has a shape that could be recognizable. This shape is very similar to something I've seen in the past, or of a good character designer, actually. It's this cartoon called Robot Boy. But you can easily tell that this is Robot Boy because of the silhouette. Even if I were to, let's say, change the values on this. So right? You would still recognize it as Robot Boy. Even if I were to fill in the character, you would still see that, well, it's Robot Boy. It's just a silhouette of this character. And once you understand this base concept, that a character is as important as his silhouette, as recognizability, your characters might come out quite unique. And you'll be willing to be way more creative with what you do exactly. Now, here's some more examples of good character designs. For example, Sonic is one. Sonic the Hedgehog, as I said. There's also Knuckles. And the thing is about Knuckles, he's just like Sonic, but you can instantly tell just by his silhouette that, well, he's Knuckles the Echidna, right? Another good one. Pikachu. World famous. Who doesn't recognize this thing? Charizard. I hope I kind of pushed the point enough here that the silhouette of your character is basically everything. And once you understand this fact, you could do a lot with it. You could have a lot of fun, or hell, you could just start drawing off the get-go, but make sure your silhouette is unique, or else people might mistake it for another character. For example, people who do this, some companies who do this not too right, is Barbie. As recognizable Barbie is, it's just a doll. And there's different kinds. But a silhouette itself, you wouldn't be able to, well, find which character is which. And sometimes things could happen where you could mistake the characters for each other. Some anime do this too, like mostly moe anime. As you can see, well, this one is example of good character design. Since each character has their own unique characteristics, but there's also examples of, well, not too good character design. I don't want to start a flame war, but these guys, for someone who hasn't seen the series, but in anime, it's actually prime. You see character design for anime. Anime actually suffers a lot from same character problems, most of them. I can't really name them off the bat right now because recently anime has been really taking in the theory that I'm saying now, wherein they make the characters look unique. But some animes, you really can't tell the character apart. And the reason for that is, well, the characters don't have any good silhouettes. They don't have good designs. And that might be the reason why this has happened. This was the little introduction update on character design. Just a brief little explanation on how everything works. Character silhouettes. So once you get the time after this course, just go and look up some character silhouettes. Just research this. You'll notice characters instantly. And this is actually how character designers design fast divisions of characters. So different types of iterations. Here you can clearly see. This is a good board, actually. That explains it all. Here's Mr. Krabs, Popeyes, Arnold, Mickey Mouse, Donald Duck, or Daffy Duck. Yeah, that's Daffy Duck. Yogi Bear. You know, all these characters from Hanna-Barbera characters to just simply Cartoon Network to Nickelodeon characters. Bugs Bunny, Welma, the Roadrunner. You see what I mean? Back then, they actually mastered the art of that character silhouette because you're supposed to recognize these characters based on their silhouette alone. Now, I can't stress this enough. Please study this because it is essential to good character design. It's something even I use. If you look at my ArtStation, I gave this girl these big horns. Well, because it's easily noticeable. You know it's this character, especially with the stylization. The sword with 2 holes in it, it was for stylization. Another example, fishbowl head. Do you see anybody else with this? No. It's just recognizable. Ice cube for a head. Not too original, but you get the gist. These are all things you should be paying attention to, because the silhouette is everything. All right, let's get back to it. Now, that's it for this section of the lesson. Now that you know a bit more about character silhouette, what character design is, and character importance, we'll be doing a short exercise in the following lesson. We'll be designing 3 character silhouettes and trying to fill in those characters ourselves. Next to that, I'm going to also be showing you how to use the Photoshop tools, how to use the Clip Studio Paint tools, and how to basically go around the UI of, well, these programs. The program of Clip Studio Paint has an extremely messed up set of UI, but if true experience and true practice alone, you'll be able to get this in no time, man. For real. There's the G pen, the pencil. It depends on your art style and what your approach is to how to use this. I'll simply be explaining my approach, but you're free to experiment with your own approach. And I'll be using the examples of other approaches from other artists, so you can get to drawing as fast as you can. But I cannot stress this enough. Please practice, experiment, see what works for you. Because for each artist, when you try to copy somebody else's style, it might not work for you. So you have to find your own. Anyway, this was the first lesson. And we'll hop on over to the next. So you just to understand the basics of Photoshop and Clip Studio Paint for us to understand today. All right, until the next one. And thanks for viewing. Hi, welcome back to the course. I'll be going over all the functionalities of the tools before we hit the fundamentals in the next video. So I'll be covering the fundamentals while also showing you how to use these programs, but I'll focus more in on the fundamentals later on, hopefully in the next video. Next to that, I'll also be going through some exercises you can do as a person who wants to get into this. These are exercises that you need to be doing like consistently. And these are really basic exercises. These are things you will learn from day one. I learned it from my teacher, Andrew Paquette, and it actually gave me a good grasp on how everything should work. One good exercise for you to draw with is if you have the program open like this, be it Photoshop or Clip Studio Paint. I'm on Clip Studio Paint right now, but later on I'll be going to Photoshop as well, just so you guys can understand how all the UI works. For now, I'll be starting with Clip Studio Paint, and then I'll be switching over to Photoshop much later. So, in the beginning, here we go. One exercise I realized that is really good to do. You can go to the pencil or G pen if you want, but I'll be starting off with the pencil, is the line exercise. Now, one thing you need to understand about character design is that you need to have long, confident lines. None of this. Never do that. Remember, long, confident lines. So, when you can, practice this. Because you don't see character artists making drawings in a circle like this. No. One circle. And if you don't get it right, redo. 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 Until you get it right. Now, this is actually a really good exercise for you to understand your shapes. Now don't bust your pen doing this. Like gently do it on the screen. The more gentle you do it, the better the circle. If you press too hard, you know, your circle will actually be a bit too loopy. So right now, a bit of a character design exercise we could do right now, even while I teach you the UI, is draw 6 circles. They don't need to be perfect. You're not a robot, but you know, the better would be nice. So we've drawn these 6 circles. Now what I want you to do, this is a creative exercise, is to make these circles characters. Just simple, something really simple. And while I'm doing this, I'll be showing you how the tools work. So let's start. I drew these circles with the pencil tool. You can find the pencil tool on Photoshop as well. The pencil tool is actually, it is what it says. They copy the pencil, basically. And remember, draw these lines and circles, not with your wrist, but with your shoulder and elbow. Because it'll actually make your line straighter and your circles more smooth. Because if you do it with your wrist, you know, it'll look like this. But if you do it with your shoulder, keep your arm stiff and just move with your elbow or shoulder. It'll come out looking way better. And if you still have jittery problems, I don't usually recommend this up until later when you begin drawing, but there is a stabilization tool you can use. I usually set it to 31, ranging from 20 to 40. It helps you stabilize your lines. And if you need true stabilization, you can pump it up to around 64. Right? Remember, stabilization is under each tool property of the brushes you use. So these are brushes. And also, you know, brushes each have their own unique principle, right? And this is actually for you to find out. Like, I can't tell you what each brush does because there are, oh my God, so many brushes. But each brush is like, you know, it's fairly simple. They all have their own design and composition. The brushes I use aren't too crazy, actually. For sketching, I like to use the darker pencil brush and the colored pencil brush. Because when I sketch, then I can just do something like this. And with low stabilization. So every time you sketch, use low stabilization. Because then you have the freedom to just, you know, just do whatever you want. When line art, when you need your line to be stable, that's when you use the stabilization tool or practice, you know, even lines. But for now, I just don't use the stabilization. Now, G pen is usually used for inking. And we'll go through that later. But for now, we'll be starting with the pencil. So you can see here that I set the character. I gave it a little line dividing the circle. You'll be able to do this too by practicing shapes, shape languages. This is something we're going to cover in the next video, which is shape language. It's a fundamental thing you need to know. And we'll be covering it soon enough. But for now, we're just going to do this. Your character doesn't need to be awesome right now. We're just practicing the creativity with the skills you might have. And if you already have the skills of shape language and composition and perspective, you can skip this video because this is for complete beginners. Or you can skip this section. Now let's design a character. I put this line in the middle, so what can I really do with this? What does it look like? Kind of looks like a mouth. I think it's funny. Let's say I give it like a little hole here. I'll erase this bit. Let's put 2. Hold on. So you sketch before you draw, so you can really establish what shapes are going on. So right now he's something on a stick. Okay, we got something going on here. I have an idea. Little eyes. This could be the mouth. There we go. We can give him a little hat, actually. Why not? Top hat. Ooh. This is the eraser tool. You can use this to erase brushes. Depending on which tablet you have, actually, if you're using a tablet, I hope you are, because it's actually necessary. You'll be able to have an eraser on the back of your pen, and you can edit the tool in the eraser section here. I hope you're paying attention. Anyway. So now we have this little guy with a top hat. And now why not? Let's line him in. So you go down over here and you make a new layer. So how layers work, you have this in Photoshop as well. This layer is above the background layer. The background layer is a flat image. And so how layers work exactly is, well, ironically, let me make a new layer right now explaining it. So one layer is simply this. Right? If you look at it from this angle, in old school, like when people used to draw mostly with pen and paper, they used to draw with layers. So they would have the background on one layer, right? And then they would put another paper layer on top of that. And there they would draw the characters. Now Photoshop and Clip Studio Paint have put that above and beyond. And so on the screen displayed to you, it's seen as the character with the background in front of it. But in reality, it's 2 pages put onto each other. Now, in Photoshop or Clip Studio Paint, or I'll just say drawing programs, even in animation, you can put multiple layers on top of each other. Let's say in this layer, your character has its body, and in the next layer, it has its head. In the layer after that, it could have another head, and you can just make this layer invincible, and this head would display. You get what I mean? Now, let's say I have this character here. I'll give him a new layer, and I'll lower the opacity of this layer. And what opacity is, it's actually just the transparency. Lower the transparency, and on the layer on top of it, I'll go over to the inking brush, the pen brush. And the pen is what solidifies your lines. I usually put the stabilization way high up for this one because it makes it easier and faster for me to just do a smooth line. Now remember what I said earlier. If you practice the exercise from earlier, use long, confident lines. And remember, Control Z is the hotkey for undoing. This is essential as well. I'm going to write all these lessons down at the end of this video so we can cover all of it together. Again, just in case you missed something. But don't forget, Control Z is undo because you're going to be using this. This is like the key item for every artist. Control Z. Because if you mess up, you're not going to go all the way up here and click this again. No, you're just going to have a hotkey on your keyboard, have your hand already on your keyboard, and you're going to click Control Z. Now, I see that I'm having difficulty with this line specifically, so I can rotate the page itself with the rotation button up here. There's a hotkey for this, but for me, I prefer just clicking on it with my pen because my tablet has a display for it. You can find the hotkeys online by Googling on the Clip Studio Paint or Photoshop website. And if you memorize these hotkeys, I guarantee your workflow will go so much faster. For me, I just have these custom hotkeys that I set up on my tablet. Now, your line art doesn't need to be perfect at first. It's a common misconception. The more years of experience you have, the faster your lining will actually go. But for those of us who have actually just started, or has an unsteady hand, which I do actually, believe it or not, you can just do your line art and then erase the parts you think aren't good. So, for example, right? This is how I have my own art style. I erase my lines a lot, and it gives it this iconic, hard, edgy look, which I like actually, since I'm a bit of a hard hip hop / metalhead. So the style kind of fits me. In my opinion, I feel like a lot of people struggle to really develop their art style. But what you need to understand is an art style really is a definition of who you are as a person. Or I'd like a theory, at least, It really shows your patience and what you're willing to put into the work itself. It reflects who you are, and it's kind of what you're showing the world, like, hey, this is how I work. This is how I do things, and this is how I'd like my line work to come out to look like, because this is what I like, and this is how I'd like to portray my work to the world. Now, a lot of artists don't use line art, which is actually, in a way, better. Comic book artists use a lot of line art, but the more you practice the fundamentals, the less likely you are in need of line art. Like, let's say there's artists, character designers, actually, who have a history and background in painting. And in painting, line art is only the second phase. The first phase is observation, so you look at the object. The second phase is line art. So there's like line art at play here. And then the third phase is removing the line art and just adding values. And if you don't know what values are, I'll be discussing it in this chapter, this upcoming chapter as well, where we're going to practice the fundamentals of values, perspective, and shape and form. I caught myself doodling with this one, so excuse me on that. I have to focus for a bit to draw this, if you don't mind. And remember, to really draw good character designs or to really do good line art takes a lot of focus and patience. Or you can just print out this page, right? But yeah, I'll I'll move on from this one actually because I've spent too much time on it. So we have this little guy with his top hat. Mm. Then you have the freedom to edit some things, right? And remember, these aren't polished character designs. These are simply exercises for you to do in order to practice creativity. Right. Now, we're not going to fill in all of these circles since we don't have too much time for that. There's a lot to cover this lesson. But that's basically the gist. It's a creativity exercise in order to just get a good grasp on what's it like designing character based on one single shape. See what I mean? It's supposed to go really fast and really simple. Unlike just now, walking contradiction, but you get me? For now, we're only going to practice line art before we hop into coloring, because I feel like understanding the shape and value is really important. Right? And this is the easiest way to design characters actually. Just draw a circle. You'll think of this you'll think of the what's left, you know? Anyway. Let's go on to the next step. In Clip Studio Paint, you can find different types of tools that you can use as well. These are all preset. In Photoshop, there's a bunch as well. And soon enough, I'll be going on over to Photoshop in order to show you guys how to use these as well. But it's basically the same. It's just the UI is different. UI being user interface. Mm-hmm. Now, I want to go over a few more tools with you, just so you can get a better grasp on everything you can do in this. This tool, the magic wand, extremely importante. Very important. Now, if you give me the time for a split second, I'm going to open up an old project just so I can show you what all these tools are capable of and how you can apply them yourself. Here you can see a character I drew a long time ago. It's currently just a sketch in line art. I used a lot of layers because there was a lot of things I wasn't too sure about. This is the sketch art. This is the line art. So for now, I'm going to use this character to explain to you a few things you can do in Photoshop. I'm going to merge all of these layers. You can do this by selecting all of them by clicking Shift, click down all the layers. And remember, Shift is how you select multiple objects. So I can click this, click Shift, and then click the other one. But if you click this and then click the other one, it won't work. So you have to click Shift. Remember, Shift. And now I'm selecting all these layers. And then merge selected layers. Right? Now it's one layer behind the, other than the background layer. So now I can start going into here, right? I can start erasing stuff that I might not like. This is a pretty backwards way of doing things, but it's the way I do things since, well, I can wrap my mind around it a bit better. When I have the form down already, you know, since this is still a sketch, I can kind of really decide what I want to do with the character next. So for now, I'm erasing all these little gaps that have the markers on it still. Right? By using the eraser tool. The hotkey for this is also E, by the way, on your keyboard. If you don't have an option on your pen. Right? Let's say I want to add like a little gradient on this section alone, right? Like this part alone is where I want to add a gradient. So the most important tool you could possibly use is the selection tool. Now, I'm going to select this bit. Right? Just dot out and trace out the section that I want to do something with. Right? And if there's something you don't understand, yeah, please elaborate. You can email me or shoot me a message on my ArtStation. And I can apply the gradient to this only this area. And if you don't know what a gradient is, well, a gradient is actually the transition of a color. There's multiple settings for gradients in Clip Studio Paint and in Photoshop, but this is mostly for Clip Studio Paint. And I can apply a gradient like this. Right? And I love the gradient tool. I mean it. It's my favorite. I use it all the time. Ta-da! And now, you can do the same for the other section. Now, to get better at art, it's not a matter of the tools you use, because that's what they really are, just tools. But it's a matter of practice you do in trying to understand just how things work. Look at the real life. How do shadows hit a certain object? How do shapes work in a certain space? How does light bounce off of an object? Well, you need to know these things. And with understanding of these things comes a development in your mental library of how artistic things really work. It's basically the study of objects, the study of existence, and the study of things. And I make it sound way deeper than it really is, but I mean, maybe it is that deep, to be honest. That's why people put the work of some people in museums, because it's just insane what some people have figured out about life. But you see what I mean? You can apply these tools any way you want. Another way of applying these tools is by using the magic wand. And this tool is amazing. It saves you so much time. It's auto select. It's a magic wand in Photoshop, and you just select something. And the program's algorithm will try to decide what the boundaries of that something is based on the color values or just, everything. Oops. Wait, if you hold Control Z, if you hold down, oops, my bad. If you hold down Z, you can probably move it around like this too. Not Control Z. And if you hold down Shift, select, you can select more. But if you just do it if you just click somewhere else without clicking Shift, it'll click on another location. So Shift, select, and you can select more. But remember, it's just a computer trying to calculate what exactly you're trying to select, so it won't be perfect. Which is why I'd rather not use it up until I have something more clearly drawn, and this is not clearly drawn. Now, we can most likely use the gradient here as well. Okay. And next to that, there's a selection tool where you can invert the selected area. We'll select everything outside of this. So this makes it so that, let's say I want the environment around this character to be different, but only on this layer, not on the background layer below. So what you can do is you can select the background, right, with the magic wand, and the program will try its best to outline everything. And you can experiment and see, like, okay, where are things where I don't want, the program to intersect into, or I do want the program to intersect into. Looks fine to me. And now I can go and grab the gradient tool, maybe make it a little bit lighter. And voila. Everything outside your character is selected. I can also use the paint bucket tool and just fill in the selected area. Now for character design, I think that's most of what I can teach you. The pencil tool is used for sketching. The G pen tool is used for inking. And depending on your expertise with the strokes, you can achieve different types of lines. The watercolor tool is mostly used for watercoloring, painting different color values. And it actually works like watercolor. The colors will mix. Clip Studio has a really good system for this. And you can use different tools for whatever effect you might feel like you want to achieve. You can select different parts as well and apply these effects onto those parts alone as well. And it might come out with different effects than you realize, but you might be aiming for something. You get me? And during selection, you can also go into the select up here, and it'll either select all, deselect, invert selection, which is what I showed you earlier, and expand your selected area by as many pixels as you want. Very interesting stuff. And this might all help you, but the only way you can truly realize how to use these tools is I can tell you how it works, but you need to practice and do it yourself. And that's the best way you can remember how to do it. Now, next lesson, I'll be covering Photoshop and how these tools work in Photoshop as well. And so we can get to the more basic fundamentals of values, basically drawing lessons, if you get what I mean. Thanks for tuning into this one. And I hope the next one, well, goes a bit smoother. Thank you. Hi, welcome to the new section of the tutorial. In this section, we'll be going over Photoshop and shape language. As you can see here, I'm just drawing a little cube. And so the way Photoshop works, it's actually really, well, it is the main tool that everybody's used to. It's really close to Clip Studio Paint. So yeah, we can just get to it. The brush I'm using right now is just a simple brush. It's the basic pen brush. You can change the size by clicking the brackets key, like the square brackets. Left will make it bigger. No, left will make it smaller and right will make it bigger. Right? Now, in Photoshop, there are different brushes. Each one of these brushes have a different effect. Some of them make your lines look more organic, while some of them make them look more formal. Each of them do something different, depending on the size. So you're free to experiment with these brushes. Depending on what artist is depending on the brush they use as well. Some artists prefer brushes that are a little bit uneven, so their lines look a bit more organic, similar to markers. Some artists prefer straight lines like this. Just simple brush alphas. Well, I call them alphas, it's the official name, but Photoshop has this feature where it makes the brush do a little effect depending on the stroke you have as well, and this can play into your art style in the future as well. So let's hope that you practice enough with this, just experiment with it, just make basic shapes, and hopefully in the future you'll have a better understanding with how these brushes work. And right now, I'm doing a little exercise called shape practicing. It's actually how a lot of artists kind of, warm up before a concepting session or anything. So they might have a better grasp on, well, what they're about to draw. Next to that, now we can talk about something called shape language. Before that, I'd like to cover some tools in Photoshop, Here we go, I just drew a circle. Now, this is the magic wand tool in Photoshop. I think the one in Photoshop is much more powerful compared to the one in Clip Studio Paint. I think it's just something about the engineers, maybe. But it works really well, down to the pixel, actually. Now, this is the color picker brush, where you can pick a different color that might be on your screen. It'll select whatever's under it, and it'll select that color, right? This is useful in the future for when you want to have a specific color palette, and you set up the palette and you can easily pick the color and paint it onto the canvas. This is the selection tool, right? This is the crop tool, wherein you would select an area. You would select an area and it would crop just from the area that's selected. So let's say I only want to select this area. right? I can crop it, and it'll crop out the entire canvas. So be careful with this tool too. If you're not careful, you might do something you might regret. Next to that, there's also the lasso tool, a tool I actually really like in Photoshop. Right? Shape tool. So just selection tools. And selection is actually very important because you can easily use this to shade, create certain patterns and shapes. Let's say I want to select this part. So I will deselect this. Hold on. I was explaining the crop tool and how exactly it would work. So let's say I have this square crop tool right here. It's a rectangular mark tool. You can select an area and it would select the area within, right? Let's try it. Now this area is selected. You can only do things within the boundaries of this area. Now let's erase within so you can see what might be doable. Weird. Okay. So right now there's something maybe wrong with the opacity of the brush or the strength of the eraser tool itself. Right? So as you can see, I'm able to erase everything on the inside here, just within the bounds of the selection. And you'll be able to do this with more shapes as well. If you right click on this window here, you'll be able to select a circle. Let's say I only want to select this area right here. Then I erase the tools within. Cool, right? Same here. I can select another window as well. So I was explaining to you guys the selection tool earlier. Now I can actually explain. I feel like we can move on to the next lesson. You learned basically everything that you need to know about Photoshop that's essential for character art. I talked about the magic wand, how it automatically selects things. I talked about the lasso tool, how you can select things within your own bounds. You can draw it yourself, technically. I also explained the cropping tool. This one is, well, basically, if you click on all these tools, you hover over it and it explains what it is. The eyedropper tool is for you to pick up the colors and different, values and stuff, so you can place it within a palette and copy it later. Spot healing brush. So if your spot had some history, it would actually heal that, which is really cool. Interesting. Anyway, the brush tool, which is simple, stamp tool, eraser tool, text tool. Just experiment with Photoshop, and please experiment, because I can't go into everything Photoshop does. It's actually an amazing tool. It's just that now it's been kind of let's say Photoshop is more for photo editing next to drawing and next to a lot of other features like video editing. But the thing about Clip Studio Paint is it's specifically for artists. And it's more garnered towards the art, character design, and comic spectrum of artistry. So the program is more built for that, while Photoshop is much more broad. Although more powerful, it's more broad. And so if you're comfortable with using Photoshop, if you're comfortable with using Clip Studio Paint, it doesn't matter. Most of them have the same functionalities, just a bit of a difference in within the ways things are set up, but still down to it. They all have the selection tool. They all have the color picker tool. They all have the eraser tool. Just everything, a lot of it's the same. So yeah. Now we can go back into Clip Studio Paint. One more thing I realized is that Photoshop might not have the gradient tool available on the UI on the side here. So I'm going to try to, hold on. No, it does. See, if you right click the paint bucket tool, you can click and switch it to the gradient tool. And well, here we go. Awesome. So now you know. All right. So now let's get back to Clip Studio Paint. All right. I'm going to save this. You click save. It's going to give you an option to save on your computer, and you can save it as this. All right. All right. So now let's go on to the next lesson. Thank you for following this. This was like the functionality lesson. And for now, yeah, I think this is everything you might need to know for character design. And if there's anything I might not have gone over properly, just yeah, send me an email, shoot me an email, and yeah, I can explain a few things if you didn't understand. Anyway, yeah, now on to shapes and form.
Hi there! Congrats on getting this far! I hope you're enjoying this tutorial and already starting to see great results. If you want to check out the extended version of the course, go to skillademia.com, where you will find the full beginner to advanced character design course with more than 50 lectures and many more techniques to learn. Now, let's continue.
Okay, so now we're back to Clip Studio Paint. So now we're going to practice, oh my god, shapes. And shapes is like really fun to practice with, but at the same time, it's a really big pain. Hold on. You need to see what I'm talking about. Shapes come into actually the fundamentals of art, actually. I said actually twice in that sentence. Unprofessional. Anyway, let me open this up. So, shapes. Shapes. Circles, spheres, squares, cubes, pyramids, cones, cylinders, triangles. You need to know how to draw all of these quickly. It's in the form of concepting. For example, my character has, you know, these shading and things. These are fundamentals. So there are 5 fundamentals in my opinion. Let me just write that down. Fundamentals. And we'll be covering them throughout this course. So fundamentals. So the first fundamental you need to know as a character artist is shape and form. It's basically how to draw circles, triangles, squares, yeah, pyramids, basically. Like, you just need to understand the easiest method for you yourself to draw these objects and make shortcuts for yourself. And the only possible way you could ever become better at this is sheer practice. And there's no steroids, if you get what I mean. There's no secret to getting better at this out of nowhere. Unless you practice 3D art on the daily when you're looking at shapes all the time, you know, I think a good shortcut for this is just like having a notebook, like a sketchbook or something, and then just drawing circles or triangles or a combination of circles and triangles, like circles, triangles, squares, cubes. Just have fun with it, you know. Do these exercises because You need to understand shapes from what they look like from an angle, from what perspective, from any sort of angle. This is a crazy important exercise for anybody who wants to go into the art world to know. Just draw as many shapes as you can from as many possible perspectives as you can, just so you can really get a grasp, so you can draw characters from any angle and any shape and form. So you need to understand the anatomy of a circle, how to draw a better sphere. You need to understand the dynamics of it. And when I say understand, I mean understand, if you get what I mean. Like, you need to know how a pyramid is actually like made. A book I highly recommend reading to get better at this even is a book from Scott Robinson, How to Draw. Don't forget, Scott Robinson, How to Draw. Because this book actually covers a lot about perspectives, values, and all around observation studies you can do to get better at drawing and get better at what you want to do, basically. When you look at an artist, for example, each artist has something they excel in. Some artists excel in observation. Some artists excel in values. Some artists excel in just simple color theory and their use of colors. You don't have to be a master of all of them, but you have to be pretty good at one of them to make like a standing in the great pool of artists which exist in the modern day. So, the fundamentals that we're covering today is shape and form. During this explanation, you got a little gist of little exercises you can do in order to get better at shape and form. But in my opinion, this isn't the best exercise. The best exercise you could possibly do is observation studies. Now, what is an observation study? Well, let me show you. I'm gonna grab an image right here off of Google of something, and I want us to do an exercise together. This exercise is actually really good for, well, practicing your observation. Now, hold on. Now, you see here, here's an image of a pot plant. If you want, you can pause this video and we can go over it together later. But for now, you need to understand this is one of the fundamentals. Not this pot plant. This pot plant is not a fundamental, but I mean what I'm about to do with it. Hopefully, you have an object in real life, and I can't stress this enough. It's better you practice this in real life, capturing an object and just drawing it. So, I think it's better if I make a new canvas. And size this up. Now, the exercise that we're going to do is we're going to redraw this object, right? So first things first, what do you see? I see a pot and a bunch of plants, right? But no, break it down. I see a square. And I also see, right? And then within this square here, there is, right, a little bow. And under the square, there's another little bow. And so I can apply this to my drawing. And the more you practice this, the less you really got to do these little shortcuts in order to find the shape properly. And remember, use long, smooth strokes. You have to keep drawing objects like this. Every now and then when you remember. You don't have to do this every day, but just as a good little refresher. Every few weeks or so, just remember to sit down and do this exercise. Because it is really essential for you to understand basic form and shape. When I was in the university, they made us draw this. They made us draw all day for eight fudging, excuse me, my language, 8 freaking hours, man, and it was insane. It was crazy. Our hands were hurting afterwards, and we had to come back the next day and do the same thing. It was intense, but those periods of intensity and suffering, I might say, actually really helped us become better artists, and it helped me actually improve my drawing skills. Well, insanely. Now, I don't recommend doing this from like a digital object like this, like a digital image. What I highly recommend is to go to actual life drawings, like life drawing classes. Right? And practice this yourself. There you can find a physical teacher as well, who might even be able to help you become a better artist. I'm gonna merge this two because I accidentally put them on separate layers. So anyway, well, you can kind of tell my pot is already off because of the line here. The marvels of digital drawing is I can just like edit it off like this. Right? When you copy objects, I see a little square here. I see a square here. I see a little ellipse here. A sideways circle. And remember the exercise we did earlier? right? And these things are actually essential to know because then you can actually apply it into your own work in the future. See what I mean? Now, these plant leaves actually cover a subject that's also very important. So now I'm just drawing out this object based on, yeah, what I see. So I think plants are a bit of a smarter way to draw objects, practice drawing objects and planes, because then you have a good understanding of flat surfaces and how they work from an angle, right? And once you know how a flat surface is really drawn from an angle, you know how to draw a surface in and of itself from an angle. And so, in turn, it'll make it easier for you to draw, let's say, cubes, pyramids, and more, geometric flat surfaces compared to like circles. And in turn, I think if you do this exercise and then later on, if you add values to it, like if you remember, later on, we're going to be practicing values. And so, I think doing this exercise, but with values, would be a pretty good idea as well. But yeah, here you see me doing the selection tool, right? And the selection tool itself is a pretty easy tool to just shrink and move things around like this, Yeah. And yeah, and so I recommend you just go and just draw stuff like this, like a plant. Just don't draw just because you need to draw an object, but draw something with the intent to learn. That's my biggest advice ever, because I used to not do this and I would draw objects for days and days and days and days, and I would show no improvement. And I'm like, why am I not getting better? Because I would be drawing, but I wouldn't even know why I'd be drawing these objects. Like, that's what teachers don't really do well. They'll tell you, yeah, draw 50 of these, and be like, okay, why? And when you just draw these things, you might be good at it, okay, but if you don't know what you're practicing, you know. So break things down into shapes and practice how to draw these shapes from an angle, in perspective, find shortcuts for yourself, because there are shortcuts built by professionals, but I feel like the ones found by yourself as well make you a better artist, in my opinion. But yeah. I say, for now, since you're a beginner, or if you are beginning, you should draw like really simple objects, like very simple objects. And hold on. Yeah. So I'm going to pull up an object here. Hold on. Yeah. So I'm looking right now for a really simple object I can draw, right? Something just really, really simple shape, just so I can use this as an example. Like, this is a pretty good object. It has a circle, it has an angle, it has even an indent, and it could be something used for pretty simple practice, right? So I click Control V, copy, paste, Control C, Control V. And then I add the project on a size, and then, I'll just go in and start really copying the basic shape. So I'll start with like, okay, I see one plane here like this, right? Pretty simple. . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . . then I'll, break it down into like some shapes I see. And it doesn't need to be accurate for now, Like I'm not trying to make it look perfect. I'm just trying to capture the essence of the shape. It could be exaggerated, it could not be, but that's really what I'm doing right now. So, because this is just a practice for shapes. I'm not trying to replicate the object itself, but I'm just trying to like, you know. Yeah. There. See, so I broke it down into pretty simple shapes. And now I can go in and kind of like, oh, I think I'll just redraw it actually, maybe because I think that it's not good enough. Right? Just do exercises like this, and your shapes will come out looking much, much better. This is me kind of changing the perspective since I think it's a bit off. Right? The magic of digital art, you can just erase something like this, and yeah. Mm-hmm. It's me just trying to get the line looking nice and clean. Little indent here. Right? So I recommend you pick out a really simple object who doesn't need to be the same object I'm doing right now, but just something that could be, much easier to draw. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's it. And so the more of these objects you draw, the more you can kind of go into more complex shapes like vehicles. I always recommend people draw cars because it's a lot of shapes there and a lot of shortcuts. You'll get that in the book from Scott Robinson as well. Don't forget Scott Robinson. There we go. Perfect. Now I'm just outlining the outside of it. I don't know. I'm just making it a bit thick to define the shape of the object a bit more. You shouldn't do this, just do you. But I like doing this at the end of it just so I could have like, okay, this is the object. Right? And it's as simple as that. Like, just keep practicing these basic shapes, keep doing your thing, and well, yeah, eventually you'll see improvements, but you have to really know what you're working on. Like, what am I going to practice today? Will it be planes? Will it be squares? Will it be indents? You just have to know what you're practicing. And if you practice and draw objects with an intent, then yeah, you'll improve in no time. Yeah. So the assignment for today would be to draw 5 objects, right? 5 of these objects, and try to improve with an intent. Right. And really, it's that simple. Just just draw 5 objects. Like, it's not that hard. A lot of people are like, I don't want to. Like, just fucking do it. You know, like if you want to improve, you're gonna put in the time. Matter of fact, that's it. Yeah. Anyway, this will go into silhouettes for characters. I recommend you look at this page because it'll come into play much later. But yeah, if you can practice these 5 shapes and maybe make a silhouette of a shape, you know, then things will end up a bit better. And we can move on to the next step in this video. Anyway, yeah, I hope you learned something. Again, 5 objects. I'm not gonna control your homework, you know, but just make sure you do it and see what improvements you can really find in your work. Anyway, until the next video, and goodbye. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. So, this lesson, last time we covered the shapes fundamentals. So this time, we're actually going to put it to the test. If you did your exercises and practiced everything that was really said in the lessons before, this should be a bit easier for you to understand. For starters, I'm going to pull up a board here. I wanted to actually explain the reason why I made you draw all those shapes and kind of understand the shapes that are needed, actually. So like squares, rectangles, circles, you know, because actually this is the reason. This is called stacking shapes, or at least I like to call it stacking shapes, and my teacher. Basically, what you need to do is you need to learn how to align these shapes in certain orders and perspectives. Now, for this, you need to have studied a lot of observation, how these objects actually move in perspective, and basically just positioning. So how an item would look if it was positioned or if it was rotated in a certain way. Now, the reason drawing objects actually makes it easier for you to, do this is because then you understand objects from different angles, and it just makes it easier to put them together within the same space. Notice how this artist started off with a figure drawing. And figure drawing, a topic we're going to cover after this lesson, actually. We're going to chapter 2. Chapter 2 is actually these fundamentals. So you'll be learning figure drawing and how to apply figure drawing in positions, while also simultaneously using the blocking method for correct anatomy, since this is the easiest method known right now in order to have correct anatomy. Just know which blocks to place and which distance from the camera and, all this. And you might just have like a well-positioned character, which would look, realistic. Even if stylized, you would still have to apply this because, the human eye can still spot inconsistencies in, how people are drawn. How are we going to do this? Well, we're going to do an exercise together now where we're going to make a character, but just with these shapes. Character design is simply like how you design the character standing still. And if the shape is recognizable, that's important. But now, this is another section where if you want to position your character a certain way, any way whatsoever, then you can position your character in a pose like this. And so the training now is for us to draw a character like this while simultaneously designing it. Now, let's do one actually here in this corner. And after this lesson, in chapter 2, we'll be covering figure drawing, by the way, where you learn to use these lines to draw a human silhouette. Figure drawing is actually an essential tool for character artists to know, and especially animators. It's how you understand the flow of the human proportion and body. That will come in chapter 2, and I hope you're there for it. Anyway, let's start making this character, but just with these shapes. After that, we can follow to the next step, which is this. We can trace it out instead of using figure drawing first, because that's covered the next chapter. And we might come across something like this. Not as detailed as this. This is the first class, so I don't think any of you can draw like this yet, but you know. And then also as a creativity exercise, we can just design the character however you want, but just by using this method. All right. So I'm going to start now. Now, I'm starting just by drawing the head. So a head is usually drawn by drawing a square. Right? Just figure out the shape yourself as well. And if you did the exercise, I believe you can actually draw. You have to be curious in your exercise as well. You know? The neck. I'm doing it this way. You can do it any other way you want. You know, some people draw the neck like this big as well. You know, but I like to draw actually the skeleton, just an indication of it. Now, the torso. Could be of any proportion you want. It's just the arms have to follow this correct proportion. Something else we'll cover in chapter 2. These are the base fundamentals for you to know, and very important to know as well. Now, these initial shapes don't need to be extremely realistic and exactly proportionate. It helps, but right now they don't need to be. We'll be doing another exercise in chapter 2 where we'll be covering more of this, but drawing these shapes in a better proportion and value. So right now you can see what I'm drawing. It's a guy, you know. I think a robot for now, right? Circles. So you're seeing right now I'm giving him a little chest plate, you know. Could be like a good little view thing, you know. And I hope you're doing this with me. Just draw your character in whatever way. Right now we're just using squares. It's like just a simple exercise to really practice like a quick character design. Right? Now I'm going pretty fast here because, well, I've been doing this for years. So, and please, long, confident lines, just like we practiced. Right? None of this. No. Just one line. And this counts even for pencil users. Right? Now that we have like a general shape, hold on, I'm giving like little olive arms here. Maybe make that hollow. Yeah, no one can see it from this side. Maybe like this. Yeah. All right. So now you can see I designed a little drone thing here. Let's just give him a little bit of filling in the bottom here. Hey, wait, wasn't this guy in Osmosis Jones? Yo. I'm drawing the Osmosis Jones, dude. Oof. Yeah, I hope this doesn't get a copyright claim, but you know. Some ellipses down here. Now always zoom back to kind of see how your character looks. I wonder what type of face I'm going to give him. So this now comes the point of blocking out. So glass box head, maybe. Now, if you want to make these shapes more organic, we're going to do it with a follow-up exercise, like the first exercise for chapter 2, which I'll be demonstrating how exactly what you'll learn will apply to your drawings. So you can kind of see, okay, yo, this is how it looks. But for now, we're just going to be drawing with squares, so you can get a feel for what it's like to just block something out, draw something really simple using long, confident lines. Let's give him bulbous, huge ass arms, like maybe punching gloves. By the way, if you click Control T, you can select the layer, and it'll open up as a transformation. So I gave him a glass box head. This one's pretty simple, like a very simple character design, like nothing too complex. And we're just practicing long, confident lines now. Let me give him these, the braces, the thumbs, right? You know? Maybe give him something that's really making it sense for the arms to hover like they do. Ooh. Right? Now you can see we kind of have a character actually going on here. I gave him some, you can experiment with shapes like this. Like for example, first I thought, these could be good thumbs, but I could just make them hands. But for now, we're not going to be drawing hands because that's a bit too complicated. We're only going to be blocking out base character shapes. So, and yeah, now we have a bit of a character going on here. Seems like a robot. Now, if you're on Clip Studio Paint, you can click on the flip screen, flip the canvas. So you can tell if your character is making sense anatomically or, yeah, proportionately. For now, it looks like it. And it really makes you look at your character from another angle. And I say practice this a lot. Really, like just do this whenever you're drawing a character because your symmetry might be off and you might not even realize. Now he seems like a jiggy old dude. I like him. And so now we can go into detailing. Now, of course, this box needs some braces, right? Maybe a little crack or something. So I'm going to give it that. It'll add a touch of realism to it. Right? Now, this is a lot of... You're looking kind of goofy already, but I don't know. What am I going to put inside? Ooh, maybe something's controlling it from the inside. Right? Maybe this is some sort of mech. And these are actually... it's a transparent tube, so I'm going to draw it like this. Right? Looks good. Maybe he has something in the back here, like just to fill in the space. Or I'll leave it at that. How about inside here? Is this a screen? Ooh. Wait. Onto something here. Yeah, that rocks. Like a smug robot face. Maybe I should make it higher. Ooh, looks like he's ready to fight. All right. Yeah, I dig it. Okay. So what are his little arm things made out of? Well, we can add some gloves. Yeah. Some gloves. This works just fine. Mm-hmm. Gloves. What do those sleeve sweaters have? Oh. By the way, if you click Control Z and you miss something, click Control Y and you can get it back. Now, a good way to actually display perspective, something I use actually quite a lot, is by drawing your lines a certain way so it looks like the perspective is going in that direction. And fair enough, most of the time it works out pretty well. And if you practice perspective, something we will be doing in chapter 2. Oop, you'll be able to understand how to do this much better. Maybe you don't see it, but I do. Would have to finish the image a bit more. So now our robot has, let's say, boxing glove hands, right? Now, what we're drawing right now is we're drawing with imagination and imagination alone. This is something I don't exactly recommend a lot of people to do. I really can't stress enough that you should look for reference. A good tool I use for reference is PureRef. It's called PureRef. You can click PureRef and it'll open this little window here. You can actually drop images from the internet onto here. And well, yeah, you'll get the images pasted onto there and they'll stay on here. Like, for example, I can go on Google right now. It takes a bit to find. Oh, this girl has some nice ones. All right. Click Control V, right? And I can kind of see what a good sweater looks like just by this girl's sleeves, and you can copy it too. So I see that this thing is like this. So maybe you got to experiment with the angles a bit, you know? I can make it go like this. Nice. Ooh, that seems like a good idea. Maybe we have like some dust off the floor. So maybe there's some dust on the floor. You draw little dust particles. Yeah. It would be funny if you had like a little bird inside. Yo, I could draw a little bird in this, but that would be way too complicated. We could do that for a further lesson, actually. How about that? So right now, this is just a sketch. We can solidify and do stuff much better. Like, for example, what's his neck connecting to? Or how does this connect with the side? Maybe there's a little hole here. Yeah, that could work. Now, see what I mean by drawing a lot of shapes actually makes you better at portraying these shapes. Like that's just learn from this. You know what I mean? But you have had to have practice with the shapes. Like this is just shape language alone. Like if you understand how to draw these shapes from drawing everyday objects like plants, try to capture the folds and understand how folds are actually portrayed, then you can draw something like this so much better. Now, see? Doesn't look too bad for a sketch. Now, we're gonna go apply the line art. Let me save this first. And we're gonna color it in, see what it looks like. So now we're gonna actually fill in the line art. We're gonna see how that goes. So this layer right here, we're gonna call it, oops, my bad. This layer right here, the one we drew on, we're gonna call it character sketch, or at least I'm gonna call it that. And then I'm gonna make a new layer. Let me delete this one. Just make a new layer to show you guys how it's done. So click on this little icon, new raster layer, and you'll get a new layer on top. By clicking on this little opacity thing here, you could control the opacity of your character model. Now, making a character like this actually takes a lot of practice. Oh, this quickly at least. Okay. Something's wrong with my layer system, sorry. So excuse me, then you're gonna draw, then you're gonna write mark layer, or that's what I'd like to call it. You can call it something else if you want. Now here in the character sketch area, I'm gonna make the character sketch the opacity much lower by clicking here. And then I'm gonna go on the mark layer and I'm gonna start drawing the lines a bit more efficiently. So a bit more clean. Digitally, this is done much easier. So here, I kind of want this to be straight, and I kind of want the outside to be a bit thicker than the inside, so it could really portray the difference between what's on the outside boundary and the inside. Now, you can actually pump up the stabilization for your G-Pen tool, which I highly recommend. So you can have your lines come out looking much more crisp. Now, for now, we're only going to draw the outline of the character. If I zoom out, you can see the whole character a bit better. This is annoying. Remember, with your elbow, but I'm doing it with my wrist. Anyway. Really make sure you have all the outside ones drawn a bit thicker. You'll see why in a sec. Oof. You're allowed to erase, don't worry. Yeah. Okay. Okay. So this moment has a bit of a gap in a gap in audio because I'm really just focusing on drawing this, like getting this line a bit clear. Yeah. Cool. Okay. Now this is incorrect, this part. Hold on. So I'm erasing that. And now that we have the outside lines a bit more lined out, we can actually start detailing the inside. Now, this is the character silhouette. You know? Like, I'll put another layer called color layer underneath. Now, keep it underneath the marker layer. And something else that's cool you can do in Clip Studio is you can select the item here and you can change the color of the layer. Now, we have the color layer. We're gonna inspect his silhouette a bit. But before I do that, I kind of spot like a little issue here that the line art on the outside of the character for the body is much thicker than it is for the face. So I'm gonna fix that real quick. Or something actually I want to experiment with. Something I saw a friend of mine actually do. We can prove the test right now. Or, hold on. I'm going to select the... Ooh, okay. Yeah, never mind. This is faster. Okay. Okay. All right. Seems nice. And now we can go into the color layer. And what I'd like to do is just kind of establish the silhouette first. So you make the character just black. You can easily just use this tool. Oh, my bad. Actually, you can just select the magic wand. Why not? See, the magic wand makes your job so much faster. It's insane. And then the damn sticky keys thing ruins the flow. Come on. This could have gone much easier, by the way. But now most of the model is blacked out. I can just deselect everything and just fill in the rest. Okay. Now, the reason I'm doing this is just so I can kind of establish a silhouette. I said that before. Ooh, I forgot to trace in. Yeah. And just fill this in. All right. Okay. Now, this is the character silhouette. It's pretty damn recognizable because you can see that, well, not a lot of characters has a torso and 2 floating arms. Well, a lot could be subjective, but yeah. All right. Now, our character is established. Now we can go to, this isn't the color layer, excuse me. This is the silhouette layer. And now we can actually make a real color layer. Recolor that so you can tell the difference. And yeah, color. Now let's color this dude. What can we do with this guy? You know, first, well, I'm thinking a color palette that's pretty similar. And in chapter 2, you'll be learning a lot of color theory as well. What works with what and what doesn't work. I see red in this character's future, so let's put some red in there. Maybe some complementing colors. Nah. Let's try a bit more green, maybe. Ooh. I see red for sure. But what type of red? I'm not too sure. Nah. Ooh, that could work. That could work. See, this is getting interesting, right? Definitely some black. Yeah. Yeah, light blue, of course, because of the window or the glass, I guess. And why not something completely different? Something that kind of stands out a bit, like this yellow. Okay, that could work. This could work. Yeah, we can work with this. All right. So now what we need to do is, remember I said something about changing the details in the line art? Well, now we're going to go into another mark layer. And we're going to hold on. Yeah. Go to the second mark layer and start detailing the inside. So this takes a bit more time. Oops, I'm on the wrong brush, excuse me. So we did it at 17. Usually I would go to 10 after this. So Yep. Okay. See, now if you practiced the objects exercise I showed you, you'd be able to really draw these things a bit more naturally. Instead of really trying to study it, you just kind of go with the flow, and well, whatever pops on the paper pops on the paper. You know what I mean? All right. Yeah, I can see something here. This is nice. All right. Oh, the last one was on the mark layer, but it doesn't matter. So a lot of animators actually do this technique just to kind of refine your drawing a bit more, make it a bit more, solidified. Because the sketch looks nice, but once you start really adding in the boundaries, which was what I do, Hmm. Okay. Hmm. See, now this part is just line art. Not too much else to say here. This is more the more focusy, relaxing part of character design. Okay. Starting to shape up. Mm. Okay. Hmm. I don't know if these need it actually. I think I can keep those in. Now we're doing some little added details in the clothing here. Maybe this fold around the seam. Uh, Practice some folds here. Maybe I'm gonna put like a little fold there. That means that this part could go in, like dent in a bit, right? Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Now that you have the character a bit more, the drawing a bit more established. Hold on. We can start adding some details. So, what are these shoulder pads? What am I trying to do with these shoulder pads exactly? Not too sure. See, so character art is mostly kind of figuring out where to put some things. So now I know I can put these little metal things here. Just have fun with the perspective a bit. Is there going to be anything on top? Oh my god, I just thought of a crazy idea. Why not give him like two little cannons? Right? this could work. There's a cute little computer robot thing. Maybe I want to separate these hands. Yeah. I'm making these lines a bit thicker to portray that it sticks out a bit. I'll merge these two now. So now I'm gonna merge the mark layer with the other layer for the layer, like the merge with layer below. Nice. Now we can turn off the character sketch layer to kind of see, okay, look, our lines are looking a bit messy, so maybe we can clean it up. Let's fix the lines here a bit. Okay. Add some lines in here. See, now we're just going through, like, just detailing, figuring out where everything goes. Okay. So now we have an established, like, little character here. Usually, you should do a block out just to kind of understand shapes, but today we're doing it with line art, so you kind of understand what I mean. After this, we're going to design another character just as a final exercise using everything we learned this time around. Did I forget anything else? Yeah, in the middle here. Okay. Oh. Okay. All right. Now this line, this canon line is kind of fucked up. Excuse my language. Kind of messed up. Now we can, I think I can put something else here. It might be interesting. How about a giant blade? That could be something. Oops. Now this kind of leads some space for experimentation. Cool. Now, this doesn't have to make sense, but it looks cool for sure. Yeah, I don't know. Nonetheless, I'll just I don't know what to put here. Damn, maybe a gun? Ooh, that could be interesting. Maybe it's holding papers. Who knows, man? There, we kind of got a base character going already. See, this is the point where you start experimenting. Like, okay, what do I want to put on this character? What do I want to do exactly, See, at first you notice I started off with boxing gloves, but yeah, these clearly aren't boxing gloves anymore. Although the concept would have been cool, I don't think it would have fit too well. So now I can add this little thing here. Maybe around here there's also like a brace. Yeah, that could work. Needs to be consistent though. And voila. Character designed. I can put those angry eyes here, maybe. Yeah. Yeah, this could work. This could work. The smug robot. I dig it. Now, let's just add some depth into it. Some buttons. Maybe I'll close this here ever so slightly. Yeah. Let me close this. Yep. Yep. All right. See, now everything is just kind of like a little edge detailing. So yeah. So what I do in my art style is that I make little funky things with the edge. Like, I don't know what exactly this is called, but it's just like a stylistic thing I recently started doing. I like doing it, actually. It makes the line edge look more organic. Very comic-y. And yeah, that's what you really do. You could start with a really fast concept and then just solidifying it. It takes this. Nice. So let me just do the floor for the character as well. Or you know what? I think I'll keep it like that. Now that I don't really need anything else from the line thing except for the head here, I can erase everything on the character sketch. We can keep the sketch by duplicating it. Copy, make the sketch invisible, and then erase everything below here. Now, yeah. Now we got a quick character. Sweet. Let me look at the silhouette layer again. Maybe erase everything on the silhouette layer. Or, I mean, just fill it in a bit more. Excuse you. All right. So now we have 2 more assignments we actually have to do for this character work. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all of the character sketch, right? And put it in a folder. You can do this by clicking either a new layer folder or select all the layers you need and then click Control G. You can select the entire layer. Character sketch belongs in here too, right? And now you can click Control T and I can put it over here. Okay. Should I make it smaller? Nah. I can actually copy this layer as well, or I can click Control C, go into, yeah, I want to apply the transformation. Control C, you can create a new folder. And this is the neat thing about Clip Studio Paint. If you have 2 folders open, you can just put it back here. So now we have 1 design for a robot. We're gonna have to design 2 more. And that's for the next lesson, so tune in for that. Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back. Now, last assignment we drew this character. That was part 1 of this assignment, and now we're going to draw 2 more doing the same style, similar to this. The reason we drew this character the way we did was just to practice stacking shapes, putting shapes on top of each other in order to really create something or form something, a character, I might say. If you did the object drawing exercise, most likely, well, you understood what was needed to be done. But if you still struggle to stack these shapes, I recommend going back and just drawing a few more household items. Remember to practice your perspective. Also practice a bit of your lining, and don't forget confident lines, And if I just realized during the previous lessons, I didn't cover a fundamental, which was perspective. So if you don't know what perspective is, I'm sure you've gotten it in school at some point, but if you didn't, here's a quick explanation. So we have a cube, right? And so when you look at a cube for a certain angle, there's a horizon line. So this is the horizon line, right? And let's say we'll put 1 point here and 1 point here. And this is 2-point perspective, right? So let's say I'm looking at the cube from standing here, right? Now you draw the lines to the vanishing point. This is also covered in Scott Robinson's How to Draw book. So Scott Robinson, How to Draw book. Now, this book is essential if you want to learn how to do anything really, be it characters. This is a really good book. It actually goes into perspective, ways to approach values, and techniques on how to draw complex shapes. And I highly recommend you at least, I'm not promoting piracy, but I say at least, if you can, hold on, download a PDF or something. This is the book. Wait, sorry, I'm messing up with the program. Here we go. Okay. This book, very good book. Can't recommend it enough. Now, back to drawing this. I'm going to erase this now, so please take a picture of this. Remember this, because this is a good approach on perspective. You'll find perspective mostly on the first chapter. I highly recommend it. And basically, this is what perspective is. And having a good grasp on perspective makes you have a good grasp on observing items and drawing items from real life. It makes you understand shapes a little better. So for me, for example, I no longer really need to have these horizon lines to draw things in perspective, since I just kind of get how the lining should be working, Or I have drawn enough to kind of realize, like, this is how perspective really works. Like, I can draw, because I've practiced so much with this book, you can draw some things almost from any angle. Like, you just have to be confident that you can do it. And it just kind of happens. But I can't stress it enough. Practice Practice makes perfect. Anyway, back to this character. We're going to start with the second character now. Before we used more circular shapes. In this case, we're going to be using more flowy circle, just like lines similar to this scarf here. Something I practiced. If you drew a lot of plants or if you drew any fabric, you would get a better understanding on how this works. So now I'm going to make a new layer up here. Right. And let's get to it. So I'll start off with, let's say, a circle. Of course, like always. It's a gimmick at this point. Because just so I can kind of establish, okay, what am I trying to get here? Or you know what? I should just use the darker pencil since this is just a sketch. Okay. Another circle down here. So we'll be drawing just 3 to 4 really quick robots in order to just see, okay, what can we do with this? Okay. And just don't overthink it, just draw. You know what I mean? Like just get to it. And I'm sure your instincts will lead you to the best outcome. Sorry, there was a truck outside. Let me close my room window because this is getting kind of insane. So, excuse me, now I'm back. We were drawing this robot. So as I was saying, just go with the flow. Kind of just draw circles around, just concept to see what works, see what doesn't, That's really how concepting works. And then after this exercise, we will tackle more humanoid shapes, how to stack these shapes into each other to actually make it look like a human. But I feel like doing this first is essential. I said that like a professional. Well, yeah, I am a professional, but it just felt so academic. But anyway, let's make a little spider. How about that? Okay. And next exercise also, we'll be using more reference. All right. This is looking promising. So what I'm doing right now is that I'm just kind of laying down these legs so I know where they're positioned, and so everything else in between can be a bit easier to kind of establish. Like I'm not starting to draw it here because then I have to figure out where the leg is placed and where the weight of the creature is placed too, right? So now I'm just kind of messing with the perspective a bit to see what exactly I'm doing, So that's why I'm kind of just messing with the lines, seeing how the perspective is affecting these bricks. Next to that, please, if you have trouble with perspective, just read the Scott Robinson book. This man explains it better than anybody else could. I actually learned it in a series of 2 weeks. Given it was a crunch period, I still feel like it's very important to learn perspective for any artist, even painters, and yes, even creative character designers. It's essential. Something I can't stress enough. All right. So you see now I'm kind of following a bit of an art style here. And this is just drawing from imagination. Okay. Next exercise in chapter 2, we're going to be using drawing from observation. And that's different from what we're doing right now. So now that I have the body of this robot kind of established, I can, let's say, put some joints around to kind of figure out where everything is going to end up. And so, am I going to be drawing it like this? Yeah, that could work. All right. Now, I don't think these tiny little legs themselves can balance out the robot. So, what I'm gonna think I'll do is I'll give him like 2 big arms, maybe. See, robots are like the easiest thing to draw. So that's why we're starting with just this exercise, just stacking shapes and kind of putting them together to form something. And then we'll go to a more complex route down the line. Okay. And remember, perspective should affect almost everything that's really on the canvas itself. So if you can find like little hints, it doesn't need to be perfect, remember. But the closer it is to that, the better. Okay. All right. And drawing objects this quickly only comes about through sheer practice. So feel free to really pause the video. And draw for yourself. You know, you don't have to be drawing as fast as me. I'm just trying to explain some things. Oh. All right. All right. All right. Okay. It kind of looks like a tick. I don't like it. I actually hate ticks. But it's a character design nonetheless. Put some buttons over here. Maybe these are cables. It's just filled up. All right. Should we give him little arms? All right. Right. One really good thing to know is during drawing is this actually this logic of, let's say you have a plank and you'll be seeing this plank from different perspectives, right? Or from above. Another angle. You know what I mean? Just learn to draw these really basic shapes in as little to as many lines as possible and as quick as you can, because then this will actually make your process so much faster in order to finish your concepts. Let's give them some little fingers. Cool. Cool. All right. And all right. Now don't forget to flip your canvas just to see if everything kind of makes sense. And yeah, flipping the canvas, you already kind of see, okay, this doesn't, the angle in which the robot is kind of leaning isn't ideal. So I can select this bit right here. And in Photoshop, you can just use the rectangle selection tool. And I can put the arm here. And then go into selection, deselect. And we have a bit of an angle here. Now we can see that the balance of the robot still doesn't make sense. So what we can do is we can erase this foot right here. And kind of make it a bit more stable. So something like this. That's the G pen, excuse me. All right. Okay. See what I mean? It's really simple, just using these basic shapes, and it's a little fun, relaxing exercise you can do to really warm up character design. It's just kind of doodling, you know. What else is missing from this character? Oh, that's cute. Now we can add little details. Oh, now he looks like a bird. Certainly not ideal, but not too bad either. I'll get rid of these ones. Maybe some horns. Ooh, that would be cool, actually. Some circular horns could make sense here. Okay. And put it back. You see, this looks off, and then just fix it. See, now we have a second little character here, although I think the perspective might be a little off. All right. Now, this design is a little bit wishy-washy. I don't like it too much myself, but this was just for a demonstration. Now you can kind of see what I mean by just stacking shapes. Like, the more you kind of understand shapes, the more objects you draw in real life, the more you kind of understand, hey, maybe a nose just to make it seem more like a robot. Some eyes, maybe. Pupils. Okay. Okay. All right. I don't like it. To be honest, I'm looking at the character itself, and the horns just don't really do it for me. Simple, erase. Even though I keep trying to make it look better, it just didn't work out. So I'll just keep him nice and round. There we go. So now we have a little robot guy. And now with these base shapes laid out, actually, you can go further into detailing. So what are the details you choose to add? Well, I can add more details to the legs. You know, don't just make them stubs, but they can be maybe little hooks. Just, you know, detailing these back legs as well. I guess in the perspective it would be smaller. But you don't really see. And I don't think I'll even go into that while drawing the final design. I'll make the back part a bit black. Okay. So now we have this little robot spider thing. Can probably add this. Awesome. Check, check. Now I feel like we can probably add something really cool in the back here. I was thinking maybe a tail on the back. Like something that'll just fill in the space here because he feels like he's just leaning forward. Which I don't mind too much. What can we do with this one actually? Oh, let's find it in line art. So you guys saw earlier, we call this one sketch layer. And this one's just a sketch layer. Then I'll duplicate it and go into the line art layer. Now, not every artist does line art. We can try to attempt this one without line art because those are methods you can use as well. Pretty easily, you can just, again, remember, make the sketch transparent and just paint away. Fill in the blanks, fill in the silhouette if you can. So, I think I'll just do it with the G pen. No, that actually hurts my soul. This is a bit of a predicadunk. You know what? Let's just do the line art. And then we can fill it in after the lines are solidified. So remember, long, smooth strokes. This is basically what every artist does. They just kind of Control Z, Control Z, Control Z, Control Z until the shape kind of adds up. All right. Okay. All right. All right. I don't think I should have filled in the inside there. My bad. I'm on autopilot for some reason. No, we're just doing the line art here. For some reason, the line art isn't at its darkest, and that's a problem. Because then, if we want to paint over the lines later, there's going to be some complications. All right. Okay. Okay. Remember, just the silhouette at this point. Mm-hmm. All right. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. And notice how we are making a bit of a difference with the harder line art. I'm seeing here that this mechanism might not make sense, so maybe I can do something like this here, like this, you know, and then add a little circle in it, and then maybe it attaches like that, like a two-wheel system, like a two-jointed system, similar to a bone, and I can erase this bit right here. All right. Let's turn off the line art to kind of see what we're drawing. All right. It's coming out all right. The one in the back here as well. Let's not forget. Lest not forget. Okay. Now for the inside, I'll make the line art a little smaller. Okay. I'm kind of bringing the feeling across that this part is a little bit deeper here. And then we can zoom in on the face. Okay. Okay. And okay. Now this robot is looking so much creepier because the line art isn't exactly on point yet. We're just kind of like blocking out the line art now to see what works and what doesn't. Okay. So okay. So now that we're kind of completing the line art a bit, I think it's good enough now to get rid of the sketch layer. Ooh, never mind. Doesn't look as crazy as I thought it would. But no, hold on. Oop, oop. Okay. Anyway, here we have the initial sketch for the robot guy already. You know, this dude. I don't know what his name is yet, but yeah, I guess we'll name him. I don't think naming is that important of a subject, although as a writer's perspective, yeah, it is. You know, like one thing I can say really about naming a character is you should most likely just follow what the Japanese do in anime actually, which is really interesting, is that they have the emotion of the character, right? Like, what does this character portray? And then they look for innuendos within the language itself, and they'll call the character that, like sky. Like for example, Sora means sky, and Sora being like this free, multi-dimensional adventuring creature, Sora from Kingdom Hearts. I mean, it makes total sense for calling him Sky. Anyway, let's look at the robot from this angle. Okay, Control T, or I should just select all the layers actually. No. Okay, put it over here. All right, this is the second robot done. Well, not really done. I could add some more details down here actually. Okay. Maybe add some pipes here and here. Maybe it's actually attached to the circle itself. All right. Ooh, maybe I can add some fire hydrants in the back here. If you know what, I'll keep it at this. This one's color scheme, I see a lot of red too. Let's just work with this color scheme for all the robots we're gonna draw today, just as an exercise. Anyway, now the line art for this one's done. I can fill it in right now. I can probably select the inside since the line art is already, basically done. I can use the magic wand tool because remember, when you do the line art, shift click, right? So it doesn't. Oh, Control Z. Okay, now let's see if I can do this. Okay, I think that's almost everything. Everything else we can just fill in automatically. Oh, yeah, I was right then. Okay. Now, you can draw this in. Now, these are really simple character designs. This is something even you can do, I believe. Just stacking a bunch of shapes and lines together in order to create something just really simple. At the end of the next chapter, at the end of chapter 2, we'll be covering more advanced drawing, more little details, and just all around more complicated lessons and procedures that is required to be a concept artist like this. Okay. Yeah. Here we go. Oh, and can't forget this bit. You see what I mean? So character art, even in this base practice, it's just really simple. Just do a lot of this. you can get something done pretty fast. And don't forget to flip your image so you can see your image from another angle. Now, we are gonna draw one more character. This is our guy looks cool enough. Water spray, maybe water spray. He sprays water from his palm, so maybe I could like draw that out a bit. Oops. Yeah. Maybe he has water in his tank, and we could make it so that the top of the tank is drawn, right? And then the lower part of the tank would be water, which would make sense, I guess, because that's what the pipe's connected to. I think that's the best we can do for now. I can make this a little bit more transparent. Yeah, so see, with just a bunch of simple circles and shapes, so circle, circle, ellipse, lines, just circles and squares, you can easily construct something like this. And something that could support itself as well. When you just look at normal objects, right, you kind of start figuring out, okay, wait, maybe the weight of this thing, goes down like this, and so maybe it needs this foot here to support its whole body. Anyway, we're gonna draw one last character, and this one we're gonna use more organic shapes. Now, this is a bit more difficult to do, but it's something I believe we can cover just fine. So until the next lesson, and I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you drew a robot too. I mean, that was the point of this whole class, so yeah, I hope you followed through. And we can probably move on to the next more organic robot just as an exercise, and then we can move on to the next chapter. Woo! All right. See you all then.
Hi again! Congratulations on completing this free 3-hour Character Design Essentials course. It's a pretty great achievement, and I hope that you have enjoyed it. You are now ready to get started on your drawing journey. If you would like to uncover all the hidden tips and tricks of character design, head over to skillademia.com. The Beginner to Advanced course consists of many more hours of exercises, explanations, and projects to complete, which will turn you into a pro in no time. You'll be able to learn the fundamentals of drawing and digital art in different softwares, the theories behind color, values, and anatomy, as well as practice drawing creatures, human faces, and different characters. So if this sounds like the course for you, go check it out. Thank you for watching, and see you soon.